Welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host, Nitin Bajaj, and joining me today is Tina Williams-Koroma. Tina, welcome on the show.
Thank you. Very glad to be here, Nitin.
Glad to be here and glad to have you with us. So let's start with who is Tina?
Wow, pretty dynamic question. I think for the context of this, I would say that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So someone that's curious, that is even when I was a kid, have always loved entrepreneurship. I started exploring entrepreneurship when I was 7. And that was me finding golf balls and washing them off. So the golfers didn't like to go and get the golf balls. So I used to go get them, wash them off and sell them back with lemonade. That was my first foray. So I got my whole little team of siblings and friends, and that was how I started. So really, I'm a person that really likes to I like a challenge, and I think entrepreneurship is really a fun way to explore that aspect of me.
It sounds like a great business idea to me. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go try that. I'm not good at anything else. So.
Right. Yeah.
Talking about a golf game, let's play a little game.
Okay.
Let's talk about these different themes that impact us as a community, and would love to get your perspective, right, off the hip, underrated or overrated. Okay. So let's start with something a little heavy, DEI.
Okay. Oh. Gosh. Gosh, that's a hard one. That is a heavier one. I feel like the way, kind of some of the cheesy and quick ways that it's approached and handled, I think it's overrated, right? Like that generic DI, it's overrated. I would say that's overrated. Yeah.
Okay. And again, this is just a snap response. You don't have to be right or wrong about it. It is what you feel and what you think and what you believe at this moment. It could change.
Yeah. Understood.
What about stock market prices?
Yeah. Overrated.
Startup valuations?
Oh, gosh. Overrated.
Okay. Cash?
Ooh, gosh. Yeah, again, love of money, root of all evil, overrated.
What about inflation?
What was that?
Inflation.
Underrated.
Okay. Stakeholder capitalism.
That one, I would probably say underrated.
Okay. What about NFT?
I think that is, if I have to choose between the two, underrated. I think there's great promise in it, but I think certain communities are doing it right. So yeah.
The Great Resignation.
Ooh. Underrated.
Okay. And crypto.
Overrated.
All right. Well, that was fun, Tina. Thanks for playing along. Let's move back to something closer and more personal to you.
Okay.
Tell us about CyDeploy. What is it? What's the mission? And what's the impact so far?
Yeah, so CyDeploy really provides a way for organizations to have an efficient answer to the question, if I make these security updates, I know they're important, but I'm concerned about the functional impact. They can get the answer to the question of what that functional impact will be in an efficient way. So they feel confident in making that security change. And it makes them less beholden to hackers that take advantage of organizations that don't make those security changes.
And by them, you're referring to enterprise customers or the CISO, the people that really are at the helm of making these decisions, which could be crucial to their organization, but also their customers and their data.
Yes, that's exactly right. So I remember when I was early in my career, or just a different point in my career, I had a partner over an account, and his thing to me as the security engineer on the team was, Tina, keep me off the front page of USA Today, right? Like that was his focus, right? So that's a business focus. So taking that as the context, I would be looking at different security products and processes and the like to put into place to keep him off the front page, right? Like, so there's certainly that CISO, CIO, and partner leader that has like a business concern about the impact of security issues. And then there's, the security engineers, et cetera, that are put in that position of make sure that you do what's needed to keep us like out of this limelight, right? Like that's the kind of spotlight we don't want to have. Yeah.
Well, I thought any publicity is good publicity. Whatever happened to that?
Right.
Well, from your perspective, why do this? I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, you're getting attacked from all different sorts of kind of, these bad elements. So what's your why?
Yeah, so really, I think that from a business perspective, and even if you look at it on a more macro level from an economic security perspective, the cost to businesses of having a compromise is millions of dollars, right? Like, so, and that's just not a business impact. It also impacts those who may be employed there. That's a job, or the intellectual property that's stolen. That means that all that R&D investment that an organization may have made into some sort of technology, if another entity, organization, country is able to take that, they don't have to do the R&D, they're able to come up with the product. That means that that company or organization here in the US that was planning on building, an entire enterprise around, or expanding an enterprise around that technology to include jobs and the like, that's a huge economic impact. It's not just a business impact, but an economic one. So, and small businesses alike, they're also impacted by cybersecurity threats. And a lot of those small businesses, which are a really big part of the US economy, they don't recover after a cyber attack. So CyDeploy is something that is both impactful and useful for enterprises as our target customers, but it's also the small and medium-sized businesses that are in that supply chain for those enterprises.
Makes sense. If you were to put I think of it from an impact perspective, what's the size and scale of your operations today? And, knowing you've just kind of got on this path,
yes,
what's your outlook over the next few months?
Yeah, so CyDeploy is indeed a startup. So we are planning to put our first commercial edition on the market, which will be a community edition. And then we'll be moving into a professional and enterprise edition. So that's where we are now. The scale of it is just huge, right? Like, so we're starting with information technology, but any sort of technology, you would need to make changes to that technology and understand, if we make these security changes, what's the functional impact of those? And being able to know that in advance provides just a confidence in making those changes. So IoT, Internet of Things, is the other segment of technology once we move beyond the IT. So we're putting IT to market within the first quarter of this year, community edition, then moving over into professional and enterprise in later quarters. But we're also in the background continuing to do R&D related to IoT. Internet of Things, and applying the CyDeploy concept and capabilities to Internet of Things products.
Makes sense. As you're doing this, as you're constantly looking at where the markets are, where the threats are, what is the one big challenge you're facing, not just as an expert in the industry, but also as a business owner?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is really prioritizing where the solutions need to be from a technology space. Like, a lot of enterprises and our target customers are talking a lot about digital transformation. And there's a lot of discussion around zero trust. And a lot of enterprise and organizations are moving in that direction, but they're not necessarily there yet, right? So it's some of the challenges in making sure that now and today is taken care of. The process while transitioning, that is still secured. And then having the solutions from a security perspective ready when those enterprise or target customers get there is also important. So it's almost, taking care of the current state, the transition state, and then the final end next state, right? And having security solutions that can accommodate and assist, because there's threats for each one of those states. The current technology, there's threats during that process of transition while they're in between. And then also once they arrive at that, new state from a digital transformation perspective, there's also new technologies and solutions. And there's new people, like the people that you have to secure also have to have different skill sets. So that's what I think like the challenge is supporting enterprises in those various states.
So it's almost the need for a holistic overview, and then kind of mapping out those different, I guess, holes that could leak out those key pieces of whether it's information, data, or just even an open door that someone could come in from.
Right.
So as you look at that, right, I mean, that's a constant battle, because like you said, there is so many moving parts. There are new people in and out. There is technology changes, but also business operational changes that are happening. Now, that's your challenge. On the other end, what's that big opportunity that really excites you despite all of these challenges?
Yeah. What really excites me is that it's so interesting, right? Like I've been in the technology space for, probably about 20 years now. And just some of the things, especially from certain technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning is a component or part of CyDeploy, right? And so I remember kid of the 80s, right? That AI was like, all the rave and discussion then, right? Like, and it was concerns around AI. And then I feel like AI has kind of gone on that wave of just like, oh, it's all the rave and everybody's talking about it, and everything's going to be a robot tomorrow, right? And then it dies down. And now we're in that like phase where like AI, right, has surged as like topic of conversation, but the technology also is there, and the computing power and speed, and that can support some of the more mature areas. So I think in a challenge, I always see an opportunity, right? And I think that what I tell my team with CyDeploy is that the product roadmap is so critical with this, and it's so critical because I want to make sure CyDeploy takes care of the technology based upon where our customers are today, but we are where they are going before they get there, right? So that we can take care of their technology as well once they arrive. So kind of anticipating where they're going is like, like that's a fun part, right? And the timing in which they go. So I'm excited about working with a CTO and product manager to really kind of map out that future. I think that that's the fun and exciting part about the challenge.
I agree with you. I mean, it's in a lot of these cases, you're not just being at the cutting edge, but defining that edge.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
So let's look back in the rearview mirror and talk about, in your career, things that have stood out on both extremes. One that didn't work out as you had planned. And on the other end, something that you should brag about because it was beyond your expectations. So would love to hear one of each if you have more. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I would say on the part of didn't quite work out as planned, those are on hires. Certain people that have hired, I had great aspirations, and that continues to be in an area where I work, right? Like in making sure that I clearly articulate the culture that I'm looking for, in the organization, and cultivate that and embed that in every part of what I do, to include like a screening process and, like an early review and feedback process, et cetera. So I've seen some epic fails on on some strategic hires, from running a business even prior to CyDeploy. On the part of super excited and it really worked out, I'm really a person that's driven by vision. Like I really believe in writing out a vision, making it plain. There's a scripture, Habakkuk 2 verses 2-3, that's like, write the vision, make it plain upon the tables that he may run who reads it, right? So it ought to be so plain that even running by it, like somebody can catch it, right? So I really believe in like writing down a vision. And I've seen in my career what I write, it comes to fruition, right? Because it's like writing it. My mind is focused on it. That's what seems to like come to me, and is drawn to me as I go throughout life. So that I think is something that I've done well, that I'm really excited about, which is capturing the vision of what I want, writing that down, and then making decisions that are consistent with that vision, and seeing the fruit of it.
I love that. It's just being intentional about it.
Yes.
When you write it down, there is something that
Yes.
it becomes tangible. Right?
Yes. Yes. That's precisely it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit and come to my favorite part of the show,
Okay.
which is the one-line life lessons. We would love to hear these lessons that are, not just quotes. These are things
Right.
that are actionables. They're simple, but so profound. I
Okay.
often find them life-changing.
Yes.
So I would love to hear your one-line life lessons.
Okay. So one of my one-line life lessons is to work for others the way that you one day would want someone to work for you. So it really hinges on that notion of you reap what you sow.
Mhm.
And in particular, I think as an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneurs, it's important that you take care of someone else's dream the way you would want someone to take care of yours one day. So that's one of mine.
Mhm.
Um, Another one is to live life in a way where you're not just a public success, but also a private success. So for me, I said early on, even while in college and things like that, that I never wanted to be a public success and a private failure. Right, where that private failure is around, like character and family and friends, and how you treat those closest to you. So that's another one liner for success for me. Um, let's see. I think a final one would probably be play to win. If
Mhm.
it's worth playing, then go for the win. That's the athlete in me, right? Like always, even when we're losing like poorly, like like really bad, like in a game, I keep telling my team, I'm like, play to win always. Like there's never a time where you are not playing to win. I don't care if we're down like 5-0, which hasn't happened a lot, but we've had those games before. Play to win. Down 5-0, 10 minutes to go. I don't care. Play to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And
Yeah.
especially as an entrepreneur, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep.
you're going to get hit, you're going to be
Yep.
put down, you got to get back up, you got to fight the fight.
Yes.
And you're not here for the fun. I mean, of
Right.
course,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
doing this for the fun,
Yeah.
but you got to win. Right?
Exactly.
Or at
That's
least-
right. That's right. Well, and the thing is, I think added to that, I remember one time in a conversation where, I had a former teammate, we were walking, she's looking at the opponent and the fact that we didn't have a lot of people show up on our side. We probably just had the 11. They had like 11 plus a few subs, plus they were like one of the top teams. And she was like, oh, saying all this stuff as to why we weren't likely to win. And she was like, as long as we have fun, it's fine. I turned to her and I said, winning is fun.
Yes, I love
Right? Like, so
it.
yeah, we'll have fun when we win. Thanks. Yeah.
Well, that was fun. Tina, thanks for sharing these one-line life lessons. And for our audience, we have an entire collection at onelineLifeLessons.com. And anywhere you socialize digitally, we are there. Tina, thanks again for taking the time to be with us. It's
Thank
been an
you.
absolute fun.
Yeah.
And again, congratulations to where you are right now, and
Yeah.
wish you really good luck for the continued journey. Would love to bring you back on and talk about more of these fun and some horror stories that you might encounter as you try to protect the world from the bad actors. Thank you
Right.
for doing what you do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I look forward to being back on.
Thanks, Tina.
Thanks.